Hi everyone, so welcome to the video. The weather in the UK is just very autumnal at the moment, which I think is like code for saying wet, windy, really kind of cold when you go outside. So I put my big comfy jumper on, I'm all cozied up inside, and I thought this was the perfect time to do the October lecturer Q&A. So thank you for sending in questions. I've taken some from the YouTube video comment section, and I've taken some from the Instagram kind of call for questions that I put out yesterday. So if you don't know, I'm on Instagram. I'm kind of trying to do more things on Instagram. So you can find me as Dr_CST_Insta. So I'll put that on the screen now. But if you sent in some questions, thank you very much. And as I said, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to answer in this video. So let's start. Question number 1, and I'll pop it up on the screen, is a really interesting question. It's basically, how do you publish in one field when maybe you're a professional working in another field? And so in this case, it's somebody working in engineering, and how do you publish, say, a cosmology paper that you've been privately working on in your own time? It's really, I think, quite tricky to publish something when maybe you're not working in that area as your routine field. So I've had this a little bit recently. I work in one field of physics, and I've produced a mathematical piece of work which kind of tends more towards a mathematical journal or maybe some kind of animal journal because it's related to an animal field. And actually I don't know those journals that well. So my first starting point is, if you're trying to publish in a field which isn't your kind of academic day job, I really think it helps to have a collaborator who is within that subject area that you're going for your publication. There's so many elements when it comes to publishing a paper. You've got to find a journal. You need to make sure that journal is credible. So obviously journals are kind of rated. They've got this thing called an impact factor. It's a kind of a scientific measure of how well the community regard that particular journal or how well it's kind of read and seen by other scientists. Then you need to work out if you're going to go for peer review. So most journal papers, I think these days, still go through a peer review process. Things are changing, and actually with this COVID pandemic, more papers were being pushed through the system without peer review and out into the kind of the open literature because people needed to see that topic and that piece of information quickly because it was informing medical decisions, but obviously wasn't going through a rigorous peer review process. So that raised quite a lot of interesting kind of conversations in the community about the benefit of peer review and does it take too long and is it important for scientific rigour. Then some journals you can pay to have an open access article. Sometimes these will be peer reviewed as well. That can be very expensive though. You know, you can be talking a 4-figure sum to get your article published in an open access journal. Then when you've found the journal you want to go for, quite often as part of that submission process, you need to supply to the journal paper suggested reviewers. So who could the journal editor go to ask to peer review your paper, to kind of assess it before then putting it into maybe that journal. And again, if you're kind of approaching a topic that's not in your immediate area, it can be quite tricky to know who to go to for peer review. Another option is to look at maybe going to a conference related to that area, and then quite often conferences will have proceedings afterwards, and it's becoming more common that conferences, if they're a larger event, they will partner up with a particular journal and do a special edition, and that means that selected papers from that conference can get published within that journal as part of that special volume linked to the conference. But then you need to pick the right conference to go to. Some conferences are amazing. So I'm at a conference next week and it's a really good one. Other conferences are regarded as being predatory conferences. So these are conferences where maybe they're not quite as academically rigorous or scrupulous as you'd like them to be. And the event may happen, but it may not happen with the academic integrity that you need when you're showing your research. So you've got all these challenges. And also, if you're in a field that's not the field you're trying to publish in, sometimes it's hard to actually see the current research happening in that field. So institutions will pay for you to have journal access. So my university pays and I can access a certain number of journals. but if I was wanting to access maybe a completely different field, I might not be able to see the current research in the relevant journals, so I could assess my own research against it. Long answer. It's a bit of a long answer. It's quite a complicated, I think, situation when you're trying to publish outside of your immediate area. It's not impossible, but I really do think that getting a university collaborator or an academic collaborator or a mentor, just somebody within that research arena, is probably the best first step. But good luck with putting out your research. It sounds really cool to have been doing research on the side whilst working in a different area. Okay, question number 2, and I'll try to make the answer shorter. This isn't a marathon video. Question number 2, how do PhDs and postdocs get paid? Okay, I'll try to keep it brief. Typically, PhD students will have either a stipend, so they'll be doing a PhD that's sponsored by a research council. This is very true in the sciences, and that research council will be offering up a kind of a living stipend as part of the package. Sometimes PhD students come with sponsorship. That could be an industry partner sponsoring them, or it could be maybe their country, their government organisation is sponsoring them, and sometimes PhDs fund themselves. Within the sciences, postdocs, they tend to be funded positions, and I think in an earlier Q&A I put a little bit up about their price range. So I'll link a video now, and that'll talk a little bit about the kind of the typical salary you can expect as a postdoc working on science type aspects of. So I'll put a link up now, and that gives you a kind of an indication of what you can expect as a science postdoc in the UK. So quicker answer on question number 2, quicker answer. Okay, question number 3. What are the jobs of people when they are studying basic science? So I'm going to interpret this question as basic science being a university degree. And in that case, I think you need to kind of recognise to yourself you're already working beyond the kind of the basic level. And really, doing a science degree, it opens up so many career avenues. Because yes, you're learning the science knowledge, so kind of like the content for your discipline, whether you're a chemist or a physicist or maybe some kind of computing engineer, you're learning specific subject knowledge, but you learn so much more. You learn computational programming skills, you learn essay writing skills, you learn laboratory practical skills, you learn team working, you're analytical, you learn critical reasoning skills. And also, as you go through studying science, there'll be times where you're having to tackle unknown problems. So you get very creative in actually how you can address a situation. And all of these are skills that employers tend to look out for. So from what I've seen, people go off, and yes, some scientists will be scientists and they'll study science and they'll go work in a research lab or for a company. Sometimes people take their skills and they apply them to a particular field. So it could be working for an energy provider. You could be working as part of their maybe green renewables team, looking at new ways of exploring how we can use maybe wind energy. People might be going to work at some of the science sites that are kind of focused on things like nuclear fusion, or might be going to work at like the synchrotron light sources. Some people go and work for companies doing optical type work. Then sometimes people might take their skills and use the analytical side and the programming side and maybe go work, say, for a company that needs to have financial forecasting or needs to have some kind of business modelling done, and you can use your programming skills and your thinking about how you would forecast a situation. I think sometimes people take them and maybe go to do something very different. So like use their optics to go work as a lighting coordinator at a theatre. Sometimes people might go work within the medical industry, so that could be making medical equipment, selling medical equipment, training up to actually work as a diagnostic technician with medical equipment. You could go work in the computer games industry. There's a huge range of sport-related science jobs that are out there. Space science is again another big kind of area you can go and work in. I'm going to stop because this list could go on and on and on. There is an awful lot of areas where your skills that you've developed over studying science are highly valued. So it is, I think it's a good degree option because it's going to keep all those different career pathways open. And obviously, if you study a science degree, it could let you then focus on a specific master's course if you wanted to, and that can allow you to train into kind of like a more focused area depending on what you want to do next. But yeah, and teaching, that's another good one. Often sometimes people go off and want to become teachers or work in the educational kind of environment after they finish. Some people will do startup companies developing a piece of technology. just loads of options. Oh, art. People have all sorts of equipment that we use to analyse paintings, to look at the kind of the history of artwork. There's an awful lot. Yeah. Anyway, I'll stop and move on to my fourth question. So the fourth question is about whether the PhD is necessary to become a lecturer. So I can really talk about this from my own kind of experience. So I'm a physicist, and in my case, the lectureship position I got did require a PhD because I'm doing a mixture of research, teaching and admin duties, and part of my job is supervising PhD students and coming up with lines of novel research, and for that I needed to have a kind of a PhD and a research track record in order to provide evidence to get the position. Now the question is very specific. It's asking about the Postgraduate Higher Education certificate, and I've also done that. So at my university, as a new lecturer, it's something that we were required to do. So I had to do this course for a year and a half. There were, in my case, 4 modules, lots of essays, some kind of teamwork, some project work, and at the end you get to become a fellow of the Higher Education Academy. So whether you can become a lecturer without a PhD is, I think, very much focused on what discipline you're going into, and also whether you're going into a lecturer position, as I have, which is a mixture of teaching, research and admin. Sometimes I think, depending on your subject, there are avenues that you can go into being a research fellow or a teaching fellow. Now, if you're going into a research fellow position, yes, you'll need the PhD. If you're going into a teaching fellow, from what I've seen, most people do have a PhD, although I expect there are openings within universities, depending on the level that you want to teach at, where you may not need a PhD. So it can get quite specific based on your course and what you actually want to be when you say lecturer. But yeah, in my case, because my role was supervising PhD students and basically running a research lab, then no, I did need the PhD. And not only did I need the PhD, but my university also required me to have this certificate in higher education as well. So I actually needed both things. Okay, 12 minutes I think I've been recording, so I better make this last question quick. And it's a really nice question. It was, did I enjoy doing the Instagram takeover on Monday? Was it Monday? Friday. Gosh, this week's going so fast. Did I enjoy the Instagram takeover last Friday? And yes, I really did. I've not done an Instagram story that lasted that long before. It was really interactive, which I really enjoyed. It was great fun actually seeing people respond to like questions and kind of getting involved with the story throughout the day. And I guess it's kind of motivated me to try to use Instagram a little bit more. So I'm going to try each week to use Instagram a little bit more to kind of share things that are going on at the university and a little bit about what I get up to when I'm not working at the uni. So I hope those questions and answers were useful. Thank you so much for posting them. It's lovely to be able to see questions coming in on the YouTube and Instagram. I did really enjoy doing Instagram, so I am going to try to do that a little bit more. But next week it's my favourites video, which should be really fun, and then I'm going to try to share a little bit about what it's like to be a session chair at a virtual conference. But I hope things are going well for you. Take care. It's Halloween this weekend, so I hope you're able to have some spooky fun in a nice, safe, socially distanced way. Look after yourselves, and I will see you back here on Monday. And if the video was helpful or useful, do hit like, do hit subscribe. It's really nice to have an academic channel here on YouTube. But I'll go before this video gets any longer. But thanks for the questions, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye.